Let's start with underrated. Actually, no, let's start with overrated. Where do y'all want to start? This is hard for me.
Let's start with overrated. Let's get into the hot tea. Let's do it.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I, of course, am your host, Allie. Today, I am here with Becki and Katie. Good morning, girls.
Good morning.
Hi.
And we're doing an episode that is a part 2 in a series that we started. And these are some of my favorite conversations that we're going to have because they lean heavy into opinions, but not just opinions out of nowhere. Like, I feel like these are going to be opinions that we have formed based on a lot of experiences just on our own, on adult trips with our families when we were kids. You know, we've tried these things and we are going to share our opinions in a really fun, overrated, underrated episode focusing solely on Hollywood studios. So favorite park, favorite type of conversation. It's going to be a great morning. I'm super thankful to be with the two of you.
We are all super opinionated. So you know this is going to go well. Is it going to go well? Maybe we're going to be like bickering children in the backseat of the car, but
yeah,
this is going to be great.
I'm excited to dig in. As I'm like talking through here and kind of introducing the episode, I see the two of you literally laughing and I'm like, what is going on? What am I missing? I think you have things on your list that I'm not going to like maybe or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now
that's true.
for you smarties that are listening, you can't see them, but they're both nodding. So now I'm uncomfortable.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
But either way, I am thankful to be here. It is almost November as we record this, but as our smarties are listening, we've crossed over that line. I love Thanksgiving. Do you guys love Thanksgiving? I mean, I'm not just like a skip over Thanksgiving and hurry to the holidays person. I love Thanksgiving Day because it's like the only time of year where my whole extended family is really together. I love the day at home with nothing to do, football. I love it.
Thanksgiving is actually my favorite holiday, even though I decorate for Halloween in August. And as soon as Halloween's over, I put up Christmas. I still love Thanksgiving. Absolutely best. And I think it's because it doesn't feel as commercialized. It feels more about time together as a family and less about who's getting the candy, who's giving the gifts. Like, do I have everything organized? It's just more about time together as a family. And our family always, every year goes and sees the new Disney movie. Whatever new Disney movie is coming out, we are going and seeing that for Thanksgiving. This year is Moana 2. We're so excited. However, having teenagers, still getting them, they're excited, but they're also like, but Mom, Wicked's coming out. I'm like, that's a new challenge. What if we don't go see a Disney movie? That would break our tradition, but do we follow their lead? Maybe we'll see both.
Yeah, we're going to be on a Disney cruise the day Moana 2 comes out. So I have started to ask people, do we think that they will show the movie early? Will they have a midnight showing? It's kind of feeling like I'm going to get to see Moana 2 on my Disney cruise, but I'm not sure. Like, will they show it early? Will it be midnight? What's going to happen? But it's feeling like I'm going to get to see it there.
I am so jealous. We actually saw a Captain America movie that came out while we were on the ship. We got to see it before it released on the land. So I'm hopeful that you're going to get to see it before we get to see it here on land.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, if we got to see it early, that would be really wild. Don't get my hopes up for that though. So I'm going to definitely report back here on, obviously I'm going to let y'all know that are listening. It is the night before our debarkation that it comes out. And so I'm just really anxious, but Wicked, I think we'll definitely see that over the break as well. I'm just beside myself excited for that movie.
I'm not usually excited for movies, but I am excited for both of those coming out soon. Whenever it comes to Thanksgiving traditions, I grew up in a really big family. I'm used to every holiday is a crowd with people around, right? Like whether we're going to an aunt's house or something like that. I grew up with 35 cousins and everyone's all in one house. We're all eating our favorite comfort foods. Aunt Amy made the macaroni. Like everything is just delicious. And spending time just talking. You would just go from room to room talking to everybody and just reconnecting. And I loved that so much. There was one Thanksgiving that my cousin Terry Sue, who has passed since then, She taught me how to play spades, and like spades is one of my favorite card games, and now it's like a thing that every Thanksgiving we play card games now. And so I have so many really great memories over Thanksgiving with, the big family dynamic. And I'm in this new phase of life and of motherhood, of seeing what of those traditions are we bringing into just like our household with our kids and everything, right?
What is the answer to that? Because we are card family for Thanksgiving as well, but we're just euchre. That's what we play. We are euchre people. I feel like euchre is a bit of a Midwest game. Is that right?
I've never heard of that game.
Me either.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wait, what? You've legitimately never heard of euchre?
No.
I've never even heard that word.
Okay. Well, just so our listeners know, we have us as a podcast, we're going to be heading to Disney World at the start of the new year. They will be learning to play euchre. And now I am be on a mission to find out who else doesn't know how to play euchre, definitely teach them. And now I need to know how many people listening don't know how to play euchre.
Man, we find new games though. We find new games. We found this color swatch game that's like a massive color board. I don't remember the name of it.
I know the game and I love it.
Yes, you describe something that is that color, then people choose which color they think you're talking about. It was really, really fun. Playing games as a family is just that's why I love Thanksgiving. It's why it feels like we aren't having to constantly be thinking about all of the other stuff. We actually went on a cruise one time for Thanksgiving a couple years ago. It wasn't a Disney cruise and it didn't feel like Thanksgiving. We went to the beach on Thanksgiving, which is fine. We live in Florida. That's a normal thing. But I missed that Thanksgiving relaxed time. And I'm wondering, Allie, I cannot wait to hear how Thanksgiving, are you going to be on the ship on Thanksgiving?
No, that is not something I'm super into for exactly what you just said. So we get off the ship the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm very nervous because we are flying that day. So I'm already preparing myself that things might not be super quick or smooth, but we're flying home to be at home.
I'm glad to hear that you are going to be spending Thanksgiving at home. Maybe one day that will change for me, but I definitely miss being at home on Thanksgiving if I'm somewhere else.
Yeah. So we love to play euchre. I'm just going to be in a one-track mind. That's all I can think about. It is a complicated game, but I grew up just dying to get to the adult card table to get to play it. It's something we look forward to every year.
I feel like I'm going through a retrograde because I'm used to, let's play spades and Shanghai and things like that with the adults. But now that it's just me at home with my kids, my extent of let's play cards is let's play Sleeping Queens, which is like an addition and subtraction game.
They will grow up.
Yeah, we're teaching our young kids to play euchre. We're just not into the nonsense anymore. We're just no, you're 6 now. You need to learn this complicated game.
You're going to give them the chips. They're going to learn how to play 21. They're going to learn how to gamble at age 6.
Yeah, we're done.
I love this.
Yeah, we're done with Old Maid. And by the way, Becki, there are no chips in euchre, but yeah, we're gonna teach them. And
Allie's offended, Becki. Allie is offended.
Well, I need to learn. I need to be taught.
All right. Well, who knew that this whole conversation here was going to lean into this card game? But I'm telling you, this is the silliest thing I've ever heard. Do y'all go Black Friday shopping?
I used to. Not so much anymore.
Not really a thing anymore.
I will Black Friday shop online so I can get the discounts, but who wants to go to a store on Black Friday? It ain't me.
No, that used to be so much fun, but yeah, we don't do it anymore either.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to pivot now. We're going to have another conversation that may or may not offend me. I don't know. We'll see. And we're going to talk about overrated and underrated things at Hollywood Studios. Before we do, we're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to dive in. This episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast is brought to you by BabyQuip, the #1 baby gear rental service across the US, Canada, and beyond. There is nothing more difficult for my family with 3 young kiddos than when we are traveling. We're just out of rhythm without our things. We just feel out of step and our kids feel off. It can make our vacation feel so much more stressful than it needs to. With a wide range of baby and toddler equipment available, including cribs, strollers, car seats, toys, and more, BabyQuip helps give us some of that normalcy that our kids crave and we need as parents when we are away from home. When they're happy, we're happy. And by using local quality providers that are often moms, dads, and grandparents just like us and you smarties that are listening today, BabyQuip makes sure that you are working with somebody who understands the needs of your family firsthand. If you need it, they have it. All products follow strict cleanliness and safety protocols and are also insured to give you that extra peace of mind that you need to really enjoy your vacation. With convenient delivery to your location, whether it's a home, a hotel, a vacation rental, wherever you're calling, home away from home, they've got you covered. BabyQuip is available in over 1,500 cities, making it accessible. So whether you're heading to Disney World, Disneyland, or another travel destination, BabyQuip will be there for you. With their easy-to-use online platform, you don't have to stress about getting your products. Head to babyquip.com. Use code SMPOD, that's SMPOD, to get $30 off of any order of $150 or more. That's babyquip.com. Pack light, travel happy. So if you have not yet listened to our Magic Kingdom Overrated, Underrated episode, I highly encourage that you make that your next listen after you finish this episode. But basically, what we're going to do, we each have brought 3 things that we feel are overrated and 3 things we feel are underrated. We're going to make a list, kind of open-ended, on what we feel qualify here. And we're focusing on Hollywood Studios. And we know these parks like the back of our hands, right? Actually, probably better than the back of my hand. I've never really understood that expression. I don't know the back of my hand all that well. But Hollywood Studios, I do know well. And I literally thought I was able to put myself in the park. Okay, this is over, this is over. It was kind of hard to come up with, feel like, are overrated in this park. This is such a freaking good park.
I had the exact same issue. I was like, underrated. I have a couple ideas that I think are really underrated, but overrated was hard. And you're going to think some of mine are very harsh. I think I'm going to be hated after this episode.
Oh, gosh.
So this is going to be great, though. I think it's going to be a good conversation because I think Hollywood Studios gets overlooked. I think this is an underrated park, to be honest. The park itself could just be on my list because it is underrated. And maybe we just start there. Maybe we start with underrated. And is that too bold and too broad of something to put on the list?
That is way too broad. And I completely disagree.
You don't think Hollywood Studios as a park is underrated?
No, I don't know how much you study the crowd calendars and things like that, but Hollywood Studios is consistently more crowded than any other park. More crowded than Magic Kingdom, more crowded than Epcot. It is the heavy hitter.
I will give you that is true, but my rebuttal here, and Becki, you can be the tiebreaker, is that it is a smaller park with fewer attractions, and all of the attractions are must do, right? So most of the things, so Magic Kingdom is bigger with more things for you to spread out and do. And not every single thing is something you're going to do every single time. Hollywood Studios is the exact opposite. And so for that reason, I feel like it presents as way busier than most of the other parks. But when I'm saying I feel it's underrated, it's because when I'm planning trips with people and, let's say they're going to get a 3-day park ticket, and they're ready to skip a park, this is often the one they throw out there. We're going to skip Hollywood Studios. And it's just wrong. That's wrong.
I don't think it's underrated as a park. I think that it's rated probably, we sell Epcot pretty hard, but people want to go to Hollywood Studios. They know that's where Star Wars is. They know that that's where Toy Story is. I very rarely have to convince somebody why they should go to Hollywood Studios. I would say Animal Kingdom could have maybe some skin in that conversation, but Hollywood Studios, I think, is exactly what you were saying, Allie. It is a smaller park and you do everything. And the number of shows there make the lines seem like it's crowded because so many people that are in the park are going to Indiana Jones, or going to Beauty and the Beast, or going to all of the different shows that exist that house so many people within the park.
Okay. All right. That's a fair conversation. And I think it at least clearly explains to our listeners where we stand on this park. We all agree it's great, but it's great pretty much thoroughly throughout, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not
Yes.
much you're going to see that's not. But I was able to truly come up with things on my list that are overrated.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump in then. Let's start with underrated because actually, no, let's start with overrated because I feel like where do y'all want to start? This is hard for me.
Let's start with the overrated. Let's get into the hot tea. Let's do it.
Let's start with overrated. And Katie, you can start us off here with your first thing that you think is overrated at Hollywood Studios.
I am so excited to be part of this conversation. Okay. So the first thing on my list of things that are overrated is Rock and Roller Coaster.
No,
and
mute her. Mute her. I'm
sure this is a hot take because it is sort of like a Hollywood Studios staple. Like everybody loves Rock and Roller Coaster. To be perfectly clear, I am a thrill junkie and I ride literally everything. I will ride everything. But we had a time where Becki and Carla and I were on a recent trip together. And I was like, you guys can go catch Rockin' and I'm going to sit this one out because first of all, I feel like the theming is a little past its prime. I feel like they could probably refresh that for one, but that's a minor point in my opinion. My big problem with Rock and Roller Coaster is the ride itself feels so jerky to me. My head's jerking around the whole time. I get a headache as soon as I leave. It bothers my sinuses. My teeth are like hurting. I just don't want to put myself through that on my Hollywood Studios day. So I started skipping Rock and Roller Coaster.
That is not a hot take. That is a ridiculous take.
Oh my gosh.
This is such an incredible ride. This is great from start to finish. This is well themed. This pre-show is iconic. This is the only time at Disney World you're going to go upside down. This is in the dark.
The only upside down roller coaster at
As I
Disney.
said.
You cannot say that that's overrated. Like that is the thrill. And I honestly think, Katie, was there ever a time you loved this ride? Because I think it just might be showing your age. You're into your 30s now.
Oh, shots have been fired. I am the youngest co-host on this podcast and I was just called old.
So we need to do a baby swap for Katie. She can't go on Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh gosh, this is bad.
You may be the youngest by number, but if we're measuring age by who can tolerate a roller coaster, you lose. You're the old lady. And this ride is not, listeners, I'm terrified you're going to think this is overrated. It is shaky, but it is great.
In terms of the theming, yes, Aerosmith is kind of like past its prime, but I feel like given the area that it's in the park, it needs to be a bit older. Like we can't pull in Ariana Grande into Rock and Roller Coaster. Like we can't have a current person in Hollywood Studios. It's just, that's not what Hollywood Studios is. It is kind of like a flashback in time to Hollywood days.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're big Aerosmith fans. Well, my wife is a huge Aerosmith fan, like beyond. And so I do hold that sentiment a bit. And so maybe it helps make me a little biased, but gosh, like everybody knows you got to get those backstage passes, like such a staple.
Here's the thing. Everybody knows you got to get those backstage passes because it's become a laughable thing. It's not like people enjoy the theming. It's like people are laughing at this is so ridiculous. Yeah, I need those backstage passes. I have said myself, if I get a cast member job, I want to be the cast member that says, you're going to give us backstage passes, aren't you?
Because it's epic. You want that because it's so fun. Oh, it's so fun.
Great. We're going to go on to, let's see what else we can work with here. Becki, give us one of your overrateds. We're not adding that to the list. Let's see what.
Do I tiptoe or do I just like jump in the deep end?
Just jump.
I can't do it. You guys are going to hate me. Guys, I think Slinky Dog is overrated. The line is so long. It is a kid's coaster. Yeah, have fun with your kids. You're going to have fun. But the line is so long. Is it worth the wait? In my opinion, no. Like, make sure.
I have a good response to this. Okay. And tell me what you think. So I had this on my list and then I took it off. And the reason is every time I ride it, I am like, that was just okay. Like it's honestly like, I'm like, okay, it was okay. The line is too long. However, the memories that I have on that coaster are not overrated. And if you have a small kiddo at all in your life, it is not overrated. It is so much better than Mine Train. It is so much better than, really probably any coaster for little kids. Like Barnstormer doesn't hold a candle. I think Mine Train is looked at Magic Kingdom as being like the beacon of kids coasters at Disney World. And I just think compared to Slinky, it's nothing, And so when I really started looking at it like that, when I really think about that there's like a really big hill at the beginning, like that you go kind of sideways. I have the sweetest memories of each of my kids being like 3 next to me and just feeling like they're flying. So for that reason, it's just not overrated. I do sometimes find myself like, if I'm on an adult trip, I'm not waiting it. I've never ridden it without my kids ever. So if that allows it to be part of the conversation, then I get it. Because so much of the magic of Disney is sharing it through your kids' eyes. I have a hard time.
So in the conversation, I am on board. If you're there with your kids, your young kids, it definitely needs to be there. There has to be more things for littles to do in the park. So I love that it's there. I do love that it's there for little kids. And I wish that there was more things for little kids to do in Hollywood studios. However, I'm past that phase and I'm with teenagers. And I honestly feel like Hollywood Studios is kind of a perfect high elementary to teenager park. Like that's the park that older kids want to be in. I don't know, just that weight. I'm not going to say you shouldn't do it. It's good for littles.
I just have to say that if there is one line that I hate to stand in Hollywood studios, it's alien swirling saucers. It's not Slinky Dog in my mind. Like I'm happy standing in line for Slinky Dog.
When did alien swirling saucers ever have a line? I feel like that's
oh my gosh. No, listen, that line, it always has at least a half hour wait. Always, always, always. But that half hour is always way more than a half hour. Like that line is painful.
You know what though? I rode swirling saucers one time in my life. That's it. And it was actually surprisingly fun. Like we actually like
I love the ride.
It was actually really fun. It was good.
Love is a strong word for alien swirling saucers. Here's the thing though, Slinky Dog, there is so much good theming in Toy Story Land, but you're in that line and it just feels like an amusement park line. Look at the line at Toy Story Mania. It is so immersive. And Slinky Dog, you're just kind of going back and forth. It doesn't feel like, I don't know.
I just completely disagree. You're in like a house made out of the cards and the board games and stuff. Like I feel like the line is very immersive personally, but that's just me.
All right, hold on. We're going to hold off. We cannot, in an effort to make sure that what Becki said when she said, it's a park for older kids, to make sure that that statement alone is not true, we have to leave Slinky Dog off of that overrated list. Okay. That is a staple in this park. But
Slinky Dog is great.
I think I am going to submit the first overrated that's going to make the list. Okay.
Or will it be the first thing you submit that also the other two people disagree?
No, I think you guys are going to agree with this. Okay. Overrated in Hollywood Studios. Toy Story Land itself. The land is not immersive. It is not like, if you think about what it's compared to, okay, let's compare it to other things that Disney did well. Galaxy's Edge, Pandora, hop on over to the West Coast and think about Cars Land, okay? And then tell me that Toy Story Land is well done. It is a narrow path with rides to your right and left and some like Tinker toy fences, and that's it.
I wish it was bigger.
I don't feel like the theming itself is off. I actually really love the theming in Toy Story Land. But my thing about the land itself being overrated is there's only 3 attractions. And I feel like we need more attractions there for it to be more of a draw.
But really, 3 attractions isn't bad.
Is actually a lot. Yeah, because in Radiator Springs, I think it's 2 attractions. Galaxy's Edge is 2 attractions.
No, I think there's 3 in Radiator Springs. But I think 3 is a good number because think about what's in Galaxy's Edge, and that's a massive land. But they also have a restaurant in there, and that restaurant is like on point.
They have a sit-down and a quick service restaurant and 3 attractions. So I actually think the content of the area is really good. Every time I'm back there, I'm like, I don't know. I always just compare it to Radiator Springs. And I know a lot of our listeners haven't been to Disneyland. It just it's not the same.
Yeah. It's hard because the size is really the only thing that bothers me. The string of Christmas lights is amazing. The amount of rides, Toy Story Mania as a ride makes the land, in my opinion. It's amazing.
I love that ride. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
see, you've added.
I really thought I was going to nail it there. To be clear, I like the number of attractions and the food selections. I just think that the theming of that land is really not as well done. It's not Disney Imagineering at its finest, in my opinion. I just don't see it spewing Imagineering and immersing you in that life. And that's where I think it falls short personally.
My question for you, Allie, because you are so good on this podcast at imagining what it could have been. What more do you picture for Toy Story Land that would have made it better? Are you expecting them to put like the blue cloud, the sky and the clouds up?
Kind of. I mean, honestly, like I said, I compare it to Radiator Springs. And what's interesting, if you've ever been there, is if you're standing in the road, and I'm talking about Disneyland and California Adventure for our listeners that may be confused. When you're standing in that road, you see the mountain horizon everywhere you look. You're truly taken out of the park and placed elsewhere. And this just feels like it could, like, I have really high hopes for Monstropolis, that you're going to feel like you stepped into the city and that it's going to be immersive in that way. I didn't even see that really big fence. There's like a really big fence and you can see it from Slinky Dog. I did not see that until this year, you guys.
I think to that though, Cars is about the scenery. It's about where in the middle of nowhere this is located. And in Toy Story, you're supposed to be in his backyard or in his room, like in a play place.
Mhm.
And think about Andy's massive shoe print in the floor. There's
Mhm.
so many details in this land.
Yeah, I just think nobody's walking in and thinking like, whoa, I'm a toy. I think you just think it's cute theming and you don't realize that Disney's thought process behind it was to make you feel like a toy.
Maybe you as an adult don't get that sense of I'm a toy, but I can say that my 8, 5, and 3-year-old, every time we walk into that land, they actually say, Mommy, we're all toys now, right? Like they're like, we just shrunk down. There's Woody, he's giant and he's above us. They're hearing Jessie talking from Slinky Dog Dash. We go into Toy Story Mania. They get that.
I'll give you another one then.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go to my next one. The Hollywood Brown Derby restaurant. This is overrated. This is making the list, right?
Yes, full
Yes.
dittos on this one.
Okay.
Yes. However, I want to add a restaurant on there as well because I feel like there's a couple restaurants that could fit this, and I don't want our 3 top overrated to only be restaurants.
So I'm glad you said this because I almost made this on my list, sit down service at Hollywood Studios in general. Overrated.
Yeah,
I feel like you could say that.
because mine was the sci-fi dine-in. I think that the theming is really, really cool, but my family despises it. Like they won't go to it because it's so dark and it kind of just turns them off to wanting to sit down and eat. The movies are kind of dark and unsettling.
Yeah, and 50s Primetime
Mhm.
Cafe, I don't really want to put that on the list because I really love that. I mean, I really do. And Wild Rodeo is great as well. So that's where I got a little tripped up in how I was going to present this because there are some that I really like.
To support your point that Hollywood Brown Derby specifically is overrated, whenever you are going to a restaurant because everyone talks up this restaurant, there's usually something on the menu that you're super, super excited to enjoy, their specialty. And my husband likes to slam Hollywood Brown Derby so much because he's like, the thing that everybody talks about here is the Cobb salad. Okay. Like, that's the best thing on the menu.
Fair assessment.
Carla loves that Cobb salad. And like, there is something to be said for sitting on the patio and listening to that old Hollywood music. Like, that is a lovely experience. But you can't let this restaurant live on just that when it is supposed to be the restaurant of restaurants at Hollywood Studios. This is supposed to be the premium experience with the premium food. It's the 2 dining credit, meal on the Fantasmic plan. Like, this is supposed to be tiers above. And I just had a terrible experience there when I had such a high expectation. So I just think overrated all the way. I don't know why it is looked at as so much higher than everything else. And yeah,
Yeah.
go for the margarita flight and the Cobb salad on the patio. Like for sure. That's a lovely experience, but that's not the experience Disney is selling.
Yeah. I went back and forth about which of the table services I wanted to say because you are right. The Roundup barbecue, great. 50s primetime, I love it. But I was going back and forth between sci-fi and Brown Derby, and I think Brown Derby is probably, for those reasons you just explained, on that overrated list.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hollywood Derby wins for overrated. It just is.
That's definitely on the list. I have something on my overrated list that I think is going to generate some conversation here, and it sort of leans into the dining thing. On my list, I have Oga's Cantina as being overrated. And Allie's jaw just dropped and she's shaking her head at me. And I knew this was going to happen. Becky is supporting Allie on this as well.
Oga's is not overrated. Oga's might be the best bar experience in Disney World.
Top 5.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why you have to get your reservation so far in advance. I mean, yes, you can get some dropped reservations last minute, but it is going to sell out every day.
Mm-hmm.
I will enjoy Ogas with some friends, but honestly, like if I wasn't going with a group of gal pals or something like that, it would be a one and done for me. Every time I go and take the kids, my husband and I are diehard Star Wars fans, you guys. Yeah, I want to go do that. But if I go and I take my kids, I know I'm going to be spending more than I want to on fruity, bubbly mocktails for them that they don't actually drink. They just sit there and look at them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That's why for me, it could be a one and done and why I put it in my overrated.
So to be fair to this conversation of Ogas, I think you have to really, like, you have to realize what this experience is. This is a bar experience. You know, you can't say Ogas is overrated because my kids don't enjoy it. It is suited for those adults, but to be honest, my kids love it. Like I've taken them every trip. They love going. They do drink the drinks. There's like one with Powerade or something that they love. There's one with boba balls. My daughter loves that. So it is an experience kids can enjoy, and mine do. But what the experience is, I mean, I think it could even lean in more. Like, I wish it could just be like this crowded bar where you could just like go up and keep ordering. But because it's so popular, they can't do that. And I get it. But no, this, I've never been and not had a blast ever. I mean, the servers are fun and drinks are so different. Like, I love cool cocktails. The stormtroopers are walking through, there's chants coming from the bar, and the drinks are so unique. I have my staple drinks I love to get, but then at Oga's, you just get something you cannot get anywhere else.
I think that there is some missed opportunity in Oga's, but Oga's in and of what it is phenomenal. It's supposed to be a crazy bar scene. Like that's what it's leaning into. And I think that they could up their game on non-drinks, like having something a little more snacks, just having basic like pretzels or things that are going to keep my kids happy. The apps are just not going to suit your bill, but for drinks purpose only, what it is, it's amazing. I definitely cannot be on board with Oga's being overrated.
All right, then I'm outnumbered on that one.
I am of the mindset, thank God this experience exists. I like, I have booked, you know, Oga's 2 to 3 times in a day when we're together. But I, just like we were saying with the Hollywood Brown Derby conversation, you have to be fair to what it is. If Brown Derby is supposed to be this upscale best experience, then let's judge it on that. Oga's is a place for people like me who like to go to a lounge, like to go to a brewery. You know, we have a brewery up the street from our house where we live. If we are home on a weekend night, we're walking up to that and we're hanging out there and the kids are running around. Those are the experiences I love. And if you can add Disney theming, and you know what? We've talked a lot about theme today. So for any Smart Moms travel agents listening today, the Hidden Mickey will be theme, because give me that scene with a theme at Disney and a cool drink. Come on. Thank God that exists. I love it.
So let me ask you both this just before we pivot off. Would you say that Oga's is your favorite bar on Disney property? Your favorite lounge?
I was about to say my top 3, this is in it. And third it would probably be the Enchanted Rose over at Grand Floridian. The only other one in the running to tie with this, you would all agree, would be Trader Sam's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the 2 of those are heavy theming, really unique drinks, unique experiences. And those are the things I'm looking for at Disney World. If you're not a drinker, you can still enjoy Oga's, but maybe this isn't on your list. But I like to have a cocktail, and I'm glad this exists.
I mean, I'm glad it exists, but I just feel like it's in the right context with the right people. Most people going on a Disney vacation are taking their kids. And so that's why it's harder to, how do you assess lounges whenever you're there with little kids, right?
But I don't want to be misleading that your kids can enjoy it, because I have taken my kids many times and my nieces, and they loved it, you know? And so
that's true too. I want to point out though, you're not even guaranteed a seat at Oga's. Like you could get one of those standing bar top tables with your kids.
Yeah, and our family has had those standing bar tables, which are very bar, right? That's still staying within the theme of what a bar is. Bars might have some places to sit, but they're also going to have a lot of standing tables for socializing. I personally want to rest my feet, but that still is leaning into what it is. It's still very much that space bar vibe.
Yeah.
I do love it. I do love it. I think it's easily top 3 places to get a drink in Disney, and my teenagers love it.
All right.
Yeah. I do think that a standing table with my kids would be tough, but I don't think if we got that table, I would just be like, man, this is not ideal. but I wouldn't shift my mindset to say this is an overrated experience. You know what I mean? I really love it.
And I also think that all of this is leaning into how hard it is to come up with real overrated things in Hollywood studios because it is just a banger of a park.
Yeah.
It really is.
So far we have one.
And you've both shared two. I've only shared one so far and got shut down hard. I can share another one of mine. Do you want me to share another of mine?
Yeah.
Okay. I really, really badly want to be a member of the Star Wars fandom. I think it is an amazing fandom. However, there are two things in Star Wars land that I just cannot get on board with. And you can tell me whether I am crazy, but I personally think that the blue and green milk is overrated. And I think that the Ronto wrap is overrated.
Listen, I'll give you the Ronto wrap that one's overrated, but not the blue or green milk. I get the blue and green milk every time I go to Hollywood Studios. I love it. If they would let me buy like a mega Slurpee size version of it, I would.
Ronto wrap is on my list, 100%. The blue and green milk, I'm not a fan. I don't think it's very good. And honestly, my kids can't even drink it. And that's saying a lot. If I buy it for them, they take a sip and then they're like, I can't drink this. Too sweet, too gross. And they give it back. So I am not a fan. But honestly, I didn't think that was something that was rated very well. Like, I don't know that a lot of people love that, which is why I didn't put it on my overrated list. Because I think it's rated fine. But the Ronto wrap, people really rave about. And I'm like, it's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the Ronto wrap is. It's fine. I get it. It's a pita bread. It's a sausage. In the morning, you can have it with egg. Like, it's just fine. You should not be mad dashing to go and get a Ronto wrap, in my opinion.
No,
the Ronto wrap is so integral that people like associate it so strongly with Batuu and Galaxy's Edge and the lore and everything there. I feel like it really missed the mark in terms of imaginative dining. If you want to look at the snack offerings at Oga's, those are over the top and imaginative. And then you have the Ronto wrap, which is a hot dog and a pita.
Yeah, so I think we found our second one. I think we agree that Ronto wrap is overrated.
Yeah.
I think that people want it, and I said that was the third one on my list, so that clears my list. I think that people are still going to want to eat it, especially if you're into that lore and everything that you just talked about, Katie, but I don't know. It has a lot of hype.
Yeah.
We're in trouble, though, because we have two approved overrated things, and my list is clear.
We did say, though, at the beginning that this was open-ended.
So we have two overrated things in the whole park. That's pretty awesome.
I have one more thing left to talk about.
Oh, you have one more.
Yeah.
I'm done. So let's hear yours, Katie.
Becki and I are clear.
Stacy is going to hate my guts for this one, but I think that the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is overrated. Compared to other shows in the park, like that's the one we walk past most.
I can't agree. I think it's an action-packed blast. I almost put the Muppets on here, and then I decided that they weren't rated very well. And that would be the
only never.
They're rated just fine. The Muppets are rated just fine.
And so, when I was thinking through the shows, that's where my mind went. And then when I decided that the Muppets were rated just fine, I decided that I couldn't put any of the shows in this list because Hollywood Studios is about show, and I love that there's this versatility and wide range of options, and having like Indiana Jones is a freaking staple. I would be really sad if that show was gone. My kids' jaws are on the floor that, they want to see it. It's still really exciting. I love it.
I love it too.
I'm into it.
You get to see a plane, like full-size prop plane in use and move and fire and action heroes going and showing you the stunts and flying arrows and rolling balls. And it's amazing. It's amazing.
You can't say rolling balls. You can't say rolling.
I can too. I absolutely can.
I want to preface that with sometimes. I just want to say that sometimes you get to see that plane in action. I do believe that the Indiana Jones show had a time where that was its heyday, and like Indiana Jones was this huge IP that like everyone loved. Even Indiana Jones fans today will tell you the IP is past its prime, okay? We're not in the heyday of Indiana Jones anymore, okay, for one. But for another, I have seen this show multiple times now. And I can't tell you, I think I've only seen the full show one time because most times they say, we have to have an adapted version of our show today because the plane is not working. So we will not be having that end scene. And I'm like, well, this was a waste of my time.
Come on. It's great. I can't feel good about putting on a list that tells people not to see it.
Indiana Jones wasn't the most recent one, The Dial of Destiny. Am I right on that? I could be wrong, but I just looked it up. Which
It was
one's
last year.
It doesn't matter because nobody saw it.
No! It says it got mixed reviews, but $384 million worldwide. That's not a flop.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't get on board with it. It's not that I don't agree. I love it.
I do like it too, so I can't say that it's overrated. I think it's worth watching. Even if you only didn't get to see the plane, getting to see live stunt doubles going through, like you used to get that with the stunt spectacular, the car stunt spectacular. You used to get to see that as well, but that's gone. So this is the place where you get to see what stunt doubles do, and they deserve a place to be celebrated in this kind of a park.
Yeah, that's a really good take on it as well.
Okay, I'm going to venture to the dark side here for a moment just to give you sort of a comparison because if Hollywood Studios is the park that's an homage to film and things like that, I think about Universal Studios and the Bourne Stunt Spectacular, and that show leaves me freaking wowed. I am like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that was real. I thought it was part of the background. Like, whoa. And I don't have that with Indiana Jones. I think it could be refreshed to be something
But what
better.
action movies does Disney make at this point? So they can't really pull anything forward because that's not their scene, where Universal, that is their scene. Stunt shows, action shows are their bread and butter, where Disney is family and connection. They're not making action movies anymore.
Okay. But then are we saying that Disney's not leaning into a strength then?
No, they recognize that that's not what they do well. Universal does that really well. I think they need to not try to be somebody else, which I think there is a big competition happening among them in Orlando right now, especially. Like, I'm pretty freaking excited about some things that are happening over there, and we'll see what Disney does to combat that.
Okay. All right. So right now we have Hollywood Brown Derby and Ronto Wraps.
That's so sad.
Both
so
food
sad.
things.
So sad.
But both are true. And there are some other things like we didn't talk about Star Tours.
Oh, we're about to talk about Star
All
Tours.
Right, let's move on. Let's move on then. But before we do, while you're listening, why don't you take a minute and make sure that you are subscribed and turn on your automatic downloads wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Take a minute, make sure that we are hitting your feed the moment we drop every single Tuesday. Leave us a review and join us in our social media communities where we are continuing conversations from episodes every single day, every single week. And definitely, like, if we missed something here and you want to let us know what's overrated, you should probably meet us in one of our social media communities and let us know, because clearly we struggled and we love this park. Recently, we did have a really touching story in one of our communities that we wanted to shout out. Miss Robin, one of our listeners, she said, earlier this year, I was diagnosed with skin cancer and I had no idea how it would turn out. When I was recovering, I dreamed of going to Disney with my family and wearing a celebration pin that said I was cancer-free, and I did it. Yesterday in Epcot was one of the best days of my life, and I owe a huge debt of gratitude to your podcast. I knew exactly what to do and where to go, and we had the best day ever. Thank you all so much. I'm already planning my next trip in my head. I can say for all of us co-hosts that we were beyond touched by Robin's comment, and I don't even know if you can call that a review, her story about how our podcast inspired her through her journey with skin cancer. And we are just so grateful to have been any bit of inspiration for her in that path to recovery. So glad that you got to celebrate in Epcot, and just so grateful that you shared your story and that you were brave enough to allow us to share it here on the show today. We are ready for underrated now. This was a little easier, although still kind of tough, because I think people acknowledge that a lot of the rides and shows here are really popular and they're great and they're just bangers. But I'm going to start off here and I'm going to say that character meet and greets are underrated at Hollywood Studios. I think people don't look at this as a character park. You get Pixar characters here. Meeting Mike and Sully is so freaking cool. They're awesome. Olaf is here. The Fab Five that you meet are in their like Oscar attire, you know, really fancy schmancy. And, you know, it's not princesses, but it's unique characters and it's awesome characters that you know and love. And I'm here for it. And I don't think it gets enough credit for being a character park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Pixar area that's down kind of when you're heading from the Disney Junior area towards Toy Story. That Edna Mode, the theming in that Edna Mode meet and greet is amazing. You wouldn't even know it's there because it's kind of in a weird location. And I hope that Disney's going to do something more with that area in the future. But Frozone is often down in that area. There's so many great ones.
Joy and Sadness are there now too.
Oh, really? I haven't met them over there. That's amazing.
Yeah, I haven't met them over there either. And I think a lot of times when people are saying this park is for big kids, it's only thrills, it is just so not true. Part of that conversation is character meet and greets at Hollywood Studios are amazing. And you can really check off some unique ones. And who doesn't love Pixar, you know? And it's a big Pixar park. And it's going to continue to grow into its Pixar-ness with Monstropolis coming. And so character meet and greets, I hardly ever hear people talking about it, but they're there and they're awesome. And the lines are, you know, not as bad because a lot of people aren't realizing that that's what's going on there.
Well, and also leaning back into that Toy Story area, it is a very small area, but you can meet Jessie, you can meet Woody, you can meet Buzz. You see the Green Soldier guys come out and do their thing.
And even on special events, you know, I've met Bo and Lotso. Like you get really, really cool, unique characters. And so I just think it's such an underrated, under the radar thing about this park.
Yeah, I'm going to lean into that as well because it was also on my list because they have the Disney Junior Dance Party. My kids love meeting the Disney Junior characters there. They're always up for meeting Fancy Nancy and Doc McStuffins. They think that's great. But my husband even really loves the character meet and greets here. Like we have met Chewbacca over by the Millennium Falcon, and that was like the highlight of his day. So this year for his birthday, oftentimes if we're going to the parks as a family, we're not really prioritizing what dad wants to do, right? So I took time on his birthday. I was like, we're going to go to the Disney Junior Dance Party. And it was really kind of like a segue to, we're going to go meet Lord Vader today. We're going to go meet Darth Vader. And he was like, are we really? And I have all of these great pictures of Matt meeting Darth Vader. And it was awesome.
That's amazing. I also think that just in general, we talk a lot about how Disneyland does really well with just random roaming characters. I feel like Hollywood Studios of the parks in Disney World has this the most correct.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Allie's favorite, Kylo Ren. He is always walking around Galaxy's Edge.
He is. I love him. And you can go see him and talk to him. And he's so amazing. And this is it. This gets on the list. I love it. I'm so happy about it.
Absolutely.
And I hope that people will take this conversation and I hope they really will be like, oh, let's dedicate a huge amount of time in our day at Hollywood Studios to meet these characters. Take the time to meet these characters. It's great. Great interaction, great memories. Okay, who's next? Let's go with you, Becki.
Okay, so underrated. I feel good about all three of mine. I think that this is one that is climbing, but still is probably a little underrated. I think that the Frozen show is an underrated thing. I think so many people skip this show, and you should never. If you're an adult, don't skip the show. If you have kids, don't skip the show. If you have teenagers, don't skip the show. It is so good.
I'm so excited that you brought this one up because this was on my list and I was like, I know I'm going to have Becki on my side for the Frozen show is underrated because it is so good. I have seen that show on a date night with Matt. I see that show all the time with my kids. You have to go see the Frozen sing-along. It's just so good.
Who was it recently that had never seen this show?
Stacy had never seen it. And I feel like we've had multiple conversations on this podcast over the last year and a half-ish that there have been people that are like, I haven't seen it. I'll go see it. And then they always come out and are like, how did I never see that show before?
So I didn't put this on my list because I didn't think it was underrated. Like I thought people loved this show, but I think you're right. I mean, Stacey had never seen it. So yeah, if we agree that part of that conversation is that people don't see it enough and that it's overlooked, then I am 100% on board.
I think if you have three things to see in Hollywood Studios, I would put the Frozen show in that top three things you need to do while you're in the park.
Completely agree.
Okay. All right. So that's on the list. And that is going to bring me, I'm going to go into my next one then, because it's another show. And if you listen to the ranking the shows episode of this podcast, you know how I feel about this show. Beauty and the Beast is a great show. It's a staple. The choreography, the costumes, the quickness of which they tell the story, the live vocals, like they're actually singing and they're so good. And there's not a lot of that anymore at the parks, you know, like a Broadway style show that you can do and absorb and take in pretty quickly. I think a lot of people walk by it. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to it. I don't love the theater and the seating, fine, but the show and the experience itself is so great.
I have mixed feelings about this one because I agree with you on all of those things. However, when I leave that show, am I feeling that rush of, oh my gosh, that was amazing, like I do when I leave the Frozen show? And I don't know that I do. However, as a Broadway lover, I 100% appreciate everything that this show is. The characters, the costumes, the dancing, the storytelling, telling that whole story. And I don't know, how long is that show? It's less than 30 minutes, right? They do a really, really good job of storytelling with it. I didn't think it was something people were missing, and I could be wrong on that.
I feel like there's probably a lot of people that miss it, and I think it's because of where it is in the park, right? It's back there by Fantasmic and Tower of Terror, and most people head over to Sunset Boulevard around sunset time.
Yeah.
And the show's not going on anymore then, right? So I think that's kind of the problem with the Beauty and the Beast show. It's a great show. I do wish that more people knew about it and saw it and could appreciate it for what it is. I kind of sit with Becki on that though. It's a great show, but I don't leave the show feeling like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Ugh. Really, with all the live singing and when she comes out in the gold dress,
It's amazing.
it really is. I want to make sure people see it. I love it.
Don't miss it for sure.
Okay, all right. I guess I'm comfortable leaving it off for now, but I think it's underrated. But I know I have a lot of nostalgia strings that pull on that.
Yes. And I kind of feel the same way. Did not put Fantasmic on my underrated list because I think people know that it's the show that closes the night.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of
Mhm.
people overlook seeing Fantasmic, which is right next door to Beauty and the Beast. And you should not miss Fantasmic. It is among the best storytelling performance in all of Disney World, in my opinion.
Yeah, my wife was like, put Fantasmic on your underrated list. I was like, it's not underrated. Like, it's amazing. People know.
Yeah. I hope they know.
Mhm.
Man, it's amazing.
I have one more thing that we didn't talk about that's on my underrated list that I said, oh yeah, we're going to talk about that. And I put Star Tours on underrated. There's a million reasons why. First of all, it does a lot of fan service. Becki talked a little bit about the Star Wars fandom. The Star Wars fandom is very split between new Star Wars and old Star Wars. And I am a fan of old Star Wars. I'm less of a fan of new Star Wars. What I think Star Tours does right is they have updated those stories now. So it does fan service for both of those parties. You're going to see R2D2 and C3PO, but you're also going to see new characters like Ahsoka Tano and Grogu and the Mandalorian, right? Like you're going to see both old and new characters. So I feel like it does a lot for the fan service of meeting both parties and really making everyone happy. And I've said it before, my family spams this ride. We will go on and get right back off and go on again. Like, we love Star Tours. I love seeing the different stories every time we go in. My kids are always like, who's going to be the spy? Who is it? And they're like dying to be chosen to be the spy. There's a lot to love about Star Tours. And I think even though it's not a heavy hitter that most people are getting in line for anymore, I think I might be able to persuade Allie to agree with me that it's underrated because Allie has said before on this show, Star Tours used to be her favorite ride.
Yeah. And then I grew up and
you kill me. You kill me.
I have never, other than Mission Space Orange, walked off a ride and said, like, I took 15 people on this ride in June.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 15 people got off and said, absolutely never again. I might need to leave the park. It's a no for me. It's a solid no. Never doing it.
I think it had its heyday. I think that they're trying to update it by pulling those newer characters in, but I don't know. There's a reason why it always has like a 15-minute wait at this point.
It doesn't though. if you go in the middle of the day, a lot of times Star Tours will have like up to a 30-minute wait. And I always tell people, if you're ever waiting more than 5 minutes for Star Tours, you're doing it wrong. You should never be getting in line whenever it's that long, because there are several times of the day whenever it's like a 5 or
Yeah,
10-minute
I just
wait.
pulled it up and it's a 10-minute wait as we speak.
Yeah.
There we
And it's
go.
not even like in Star Wars. It's not even in Galaxy's Edge, you know, because it's
It
like,
was before Galaxy's Edge was created, ma'am.
I know that. But I'm just saying, like, now it just feels like this, like, thumb out in the middle of no, I don't know.
There are a couple different Star Wars attractions that are not in Galaxy's Edge, right? Like the BB-8 meet and greet,
And now that I'm talking about it out loud, it's kind of like, well, no, because they update Star Tours. I don't know. I just don't love it. I can't put this on the underrated list.
Okay, listen, I need to say this. Allie is a fan of new Star Wars, and so she just does not appreciate those giant AT-ATs out front, okay, guys?
I appreciate them in Rise of the Resistance.
True.
Okay, all right.
I am on the it's not underrated list.
Becki, give us one that is underrated.
I have two on my list that I still want to talk about. The first one is the Tap House. I think that the Tap House is a pretty amazing place to go spend some time. Also, another place to get a drink. Leaning into this, Hollywood Studios is a more adult themed place. But even if you have kids with you, my kids love Tap House as well. Getting the pretzel, they actually have the bar appetizers that Oga's should lean a little more into, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the Tap House, and it's not on my list, but I could get behind the Tap House.
Yeah, I'll support that too. I enjoy a cocktail or a beer, but I go to Baseline Tap House they have this hibiscus soda, strawberry hibiscus soda on tap that is so good. And so, yeah, I can definitely get behind Baseline Tap House is underrated.
Yeah. Okay, great.
The
So
music there. Oh, I didn't even talk about the music. Like, I love that they have popular music that's kind of an altered version of it. It just feels swanky and fun. I love
it's
it.
great. It's a hang, and I like to hang. Okay, the last thing on my list, and this might be too broad strokes or something, but I said the shopping at Hollywood Studios. The gift shops there on Sunset Boulevard are my favorite in Disney World. We hit them every time. My kids usually pick their souvenir for the trip at Hollywood Studios, and I just prefer these kind of smaller, eclectic themed shops with more unique offerings to the Emporium over at Magic Kingdom. But honestly, even on that main drag, when you walk in, there's some really awesome shops like to the left, kind of where you're going to go to Echo Lake and all of that, like before you walk forward into the Mickey and Minnie's theater. You spend like an hour shopping in the front of that park. What is it on the left there? That Hut shop. My mom is obsessed with that shop. It's kind of goes unnoticed, but she's loved going in there since I was little. And so I think it's underrated.
I think shopping down, especially down Sunset Boulevard, is definitely overlooked. This actually kind of leans into my one thing that I have left, and it leans heavily into Sunset Boulevard. So maybe Sunset Boulevard just in general. You're talking Beauty and the Beast. We know that Fantasmic isn't necessarily underrated, but you should not miss it. The thing that I had left on my list takes place on Hollywood Boulevard, and that is the Capture Your Magic. I think people want to do Capture Your Magic in Magic Kingdom because they want the castle. We did Macy's graduation pictures on Sunset Boulevard. And for the price tag you get to have a dedicated photographer taking pictures, we got to go up on the balcony of Tower of Terror to take her senior graduation pictures. And holy schmoly, people should not overlook having a private Disney photographer come and take pictures of your family on Sunset Boulevard.
So what if we label this one underrated is shopping and photos at Hollywood Studios?
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
Me too.
I feel good about
and that's my whole list. That's my whole list.
I love it. I love it.
Do either of you have anything left on your list?
Nope. That's it.
Okay, so let's review. Okay, and then we're going to take one more quick break. Actually, let's take a break now while we look at our finalized list here. We're going to hear from some of our friends, other Smart Moms travel agents that have information and places that you're going to want to follow and look into other more Disney magic that's dropping right into your social media wherever you're scrolling. So take a listen to our friends and we'll be right back. Are you looking for a new Disney bestie on Instagram? You should give our friend Alyssa a follow at Wanderlust Travel Mama. That is on Instagram at Wanderlust Travel Mama, where Alyssa is offering different tips and tricks and highlighting different travel locations beyond Disney. She loves creating memories with her family, and she loves to give ideas on how you can create memories with yours. I love living through other people on Instagram, and following Alyssa allows you to do just that. Get ideas for your family by following Alyssa at Wanderlust Travel Mama on Instagram. Okay, Smarties, the time is now to join Moms Planning Universal and Epic Universe on Facebook. Imagine a theme park where you are in the game, not just playing it. That is Epic Universe. And in our friends' Facebook group, Moms Planning Universal and Epic Universe, they're having expert insights on Epic Universe, interactive planning support, and Q&A sessions, family-friendly information, and more. Exclusive giveaways, special offers. You cannot miss the fun inside Moms Planning Universal and Epic Universe on Facebook. Okay, so we have our final list. Here's what we came up with. This is like exactly what I thought would happen. There's not a lot of overrated things at Hollywood Studios because the park is amazing. Do not skip it. The theming, the attractions, the shows, the shopping, as we discussed, it's all banger. It's amazing. Overrated though, maybe the Ronto wrap, just okay. And the Hollywood Brown Derby restaurant, for what it's, bannered as, it needs to be a lot better. And the final list for underrated things that you need to check out: character meet and greets, absolutely unique, fun, lower wait times, cool locations. It's awesome. The Frozen sing-along, it cannot be overlooked. It's hilarious and magical. The Baseline Tap House, such a great place to hang on a long, busy day, especially when you need a moment after the thrills you've experienced. And the shopping and photos right there at the front of the park on the main drag and on Sunset Boulevard. I like this list. I want every listener to visit Hollywood Studios, and I want you to join us in our communities on Facebook, on Instagram, leaving us a review, letting us know what we might have missed because we have such a short overrated list. Maybe you have ideas that we didn't. I like the list. And now it's time for Lightning Lane. And the two of you, I already had this conversation with Carla and Stacy. I need fast answers. People pay good money for multipass to not be standing in line. If I could pay money not to have to sit here and listen to y'all mull through your answers, this is Lightning Lane. So I'm going to give you the question. You tell me fast. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Got this.
This is all Hollywood Studios centric. Okay. Here we go. We're going to go Katie, Becki on every answer. Favorite snack?
Pop-Tart from Woody's Lunchbox.
Buttered popcorn. Get a bucket and refill it all day.
Ooh, get the Star Wars bucket. I always think that one's cool. Okay, favorite thrill?
Tower of Terror. You can't beat that.
I'm going to go Rock and Roller Coaster.
If I had to tie break here, I would say Tower of Terror. Okay, favorite show?
The Frozen sing-along, of course.
Obviously, Fantasmic. It is the best show ever.
Oh, I changed my answer. It has to be Fantasmic.
It's definitely Fantasmic. Okay, favorite area, favorite land?
Let's go with Batu, Galaxy's Edge.
I think Galaxy's Edge as well.
I'm going to say that Galaxy's Edge is definitely the best, like most immersive, well done, but I like Sunset Boulevard. I love hanging out on Sunset Boulevard. Those views, the music, the vibe, love it. Okay, favorite place to escape the crowds?
I would say Sunset Boulevard for that. I like to go hang out there to get out of the crowds.
I'm going to say that Pixar Place area. I feel like it's where all of the character meet and greets are for those Pixar ones, and the crowds are always low back there.
Yeah, I think crowds are kind of hard to escape. But there's like a little walkway by the dinosaur lake in front of 50s Primetime where there are benches. And it's like in front of the normal walkway. And we love to sit there and like have a Mickey bar. So I'd say there. Okay, and your favorite thing about Hollywood Studios? Go.
The sense of adventure. We're going to go and we're going to have the best time, whether it's thrills or just being immersed in a story.
For me, it is the nighttime vibes. Under the lights, the glitz, the glamour, the music, the smells. It's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. This is a perfect park. It's a great balance of vibe, music, experience, show, ride, food kind of. Don't go there if you're a foodie just for the food, but there are great hangouts, so that is wonderful. We love Hollywood Studios. This is a must-do experience on your Disney trip, maybe even 2 days. Don't miss Fantasmic. This was so fun, girls. Thank you so much for tolerating my opinions today. And I had a lot of fun batting down and agreeing with some of yours. I hope our listeners will find a new love and appreciation for this park. And of course, that's going to do it for us this time on the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.